Eerie Elementary, Laco 8 Lucy. Into the graveyard. Come on! This will take a minute, said Sam to his friends Antonio and Lucy. It was Monday morning before school. They were standing outside at the entrance to the town graveyard, Eerie Cemetery. Sam, do you really have to do this? Lucy asked. I got the willies, big time. Me too, Antonio said. I'm allergic to graveyards. Sam Graves turned to his friends. We need to figure out how to stop our evil school, right? He said. Then we have to do this. We have to learn much about Eerie Elementary as possible. That way we'll be able to fight it. The three friends stepped through the iron gate. The graveyard usually gave Sam the creeps, but it didn't seem so scary now after everything that happened. It was 1 week ago that Mr. Nickleby, the old man who took care of Eerie Elementary, had chosen Sam to be the new hall monitor. Years ago, Mr. Nickleby had been the school's hall monitor. He showed Sam the truth about Eerie Elementary was alive. The school was a living, breathing, evil thing. Then, on Friday, the school had tried to swallow Lucy and Antonio during the class play. Sam had saved them in the nick of time, the ones who knew the truth about the school. They had to keep everyone safe. There, Lucy said, pointing to a hill dotted with cracked headstones. The book says that's where Eerie Elementary family is buried. Lucy held up a thick, dusty book in her hands. Eerie, a town history. The three friends had spent the weekend at the town library looking for information. From this book, they learned that family with the last name of Eerie started the town hundreds of years ago. The book said the Eerie family buried in this graveyard. It also said that each member of Eerie family had started part of the town, the library, the hospital, even the school. Sam hoped that by seeing the graves might learn more about school's history. Sam eyes on the headstones. Each headstone had name Eerie on it. It felt as the headstones were watching him. Sam counted them. 12. Lucy, can I see the book? Sam asked. Lucy handed it to Sam. He flipped over through the pages. Guys, this is strange, he said. The book says there's 13 members of Eerie family, so there should be 13 headstones. But there are only 12. One family number is not buried here. Weird, Antonio said. You know, it's not no surprise all this creepy stuff is happening in a town named Eerie. Eerie just means spooky and strange. Whose grave is missing, Sam? Lucy asked. Sam's eye darted over the names on the headstones. Then he looked in the book. Well, Sam said, there's a family member named Orson Eerie. See his picture here? Antonio peeked over Sam's shoulder. Wow, look at his mustache, he said. What is that thing? Sam rolled his eyes and continued. What? But I don't see headstone with his name on it. And this is even weirder. Orson Eerie was born in 1871, but doesn't say when he's dead. There's just a question mark. I wonder what happened to him, Antonio said. What else does the book say about him? Sam turned the page and read more. Oh no, Lucy yelled. It's 8:15. We are late for school. Lucy yanked the book from Sam's hands. He stuffed into her backpack. Come on, Antonio said to him. Sam ran after his friends, but he had an uneasy feeling in his stomach. As hall monitor, he could sense things that other students can't. He could feel when something was wrong at Eerie Elementary. And right now, Sam had the feeling that something very bad was about to happen. Chapter 2. Gone. Sam raced out of the graveyard, down to the street, and toward to the school. As the three friends crossed the playground, they spotted a large plastic thermometer on a tree branch. I forgot, Lucy called to her friends as she ran. We have that weather lesson today. Antonia started skipping class outside. This is going to be a good day. Sam hoped Antonio was right. The three of them raced up the stairs of the school. Sam pulled his own monitor sash as they ran inside. I'll never get used to wearing this ugly thing, Sam said. Bright orange is totally your color, joked Lucy. Their classmates were all lined up in the hallway. Mr. Grinker, their teacher, stood in front of the line. You're late, Mr. Grinker barked. Put away your backpacks and head back to the line. Sam and his friends walked to their lockers. Miss Grinker called out, We're going to have for our weather lesson now. Today's weather will be the hottest ever late September. 105 degrees. Sam and Antonia put their backpacks away quickly, but Lucy was still at her locker. Just 1 second, Lucy said, digging through her backpack. I need my sunglasses. Hurry up, Lucy, Sam said. He and Antonio hopped into the line. Hall monitor, Miss Grinker called to Sam in front of the line. Please make sure everyone is with us. Okay, Sam said. He turned to call Lucy, but when he looked down at the hall, his heart just about stopped. Lucy's sunglasses lay on the floor. Her locker was open. The hallway was empty. A feeling of fear crept over Sam. Lucy was gone. Chapter 3. Into the locker. Sam had a pit in his stomach the size of a basketball. Last week, Mr. Nickleby had told him that Eerie Elementary fed on students. And Sam had seen his own eyes when the stage had tried to swallow his friends. Now Lucy was missing. Could the school have eaten her? Follow me, Mr. Grinker called out. Then she began marching the students out through the big double doors. Sam grabbed Antonia from end of the line. The two friends stayed behind their classmates, headed outside. Then Sam said, Lucy's missing. She went to a locker and now she's gone. Antonia turned to look at Lucy's locker. He too knew what horrible things Eerie Elementary could do. He gulped and said, Maybe she's just messing with us, hiding in her locker. Sam and Antonia creeped toward Lucy's locker. Sam's heart pounded. We wrapped his fingers around the half-open door. The metal felt warm in his hand. Sam held his breath. Then the yank opened the door open. Lucy was not inside. But something else was. Nasty, slimy goo dripped over inside of the locker. It was glowing. It looked like dozens of boogers mixed with bulldog slobber. Antonio touched it. It was sticky and wet. Ew, he said. He flicked his fingers and splashing goo on the floor. Antonio, Sam said slowly, the locker ate Lucy. We should tell Mr. Nicoli, Antonio said. Sam shook his head. There's no time. I have to go in after her. I'm the hall monitor. It's my job to protect students, especially Lucy, Antonio gulped. Then I'm coming with you. Sam nodded. He reached into Lucy's locker and bursted aside her gym clothes. And there was a strange hole in the back of the wall of the locker. More glowing goo dripped from the hole. Sam could see a narrow tunnel through the hole. Are you ready? Sam said. Antonio shook his head. Not really. Sam swallowed. Not time to be scared, he said. It's time to rescue Lucy. Sam climbed through the hole. Antonio followed. Together, they crawled into the darkness down the deepest of the school. Chapter 4. The Tight Spot. A tight spot. Sam soon saw the dark tunnel they were crawling through was actually an air vent. It carried a cool air to the classrooms. Sam shivered, pretty from the cold air and pretty from fear. As they crawled, the inside of the air vent became wetter. Slimy goo dropped down to the sides. It feels like we are crawling through someone's nose, Antonio said. Each time Sam placed his hand down, it made a splashy sound. I just wish it wasn't so dark, Sam said. Click! A light shone in the tunnel. Sam cleared his neck and saw Antonio holding a cell phone. Antonio grinned. Mine makes me carry it smart, Sam said. They crawled forward through the muck. So, why do you think the school took Lucy? Antonio said. Shh, Sam said, whispering. We don't want to school know we're coming. I'll be very extra cool, Antonio started, but then, achoo! Antonio, Sam moaned. I'm sorry, it's hard to breathe when the sticky snakes is on my face. Swoosh! A wave of air whooshed through the vent, blowing back Sam's hair. But this air was warm. It felt someone's hot breath. The school must be trying to figure out where we are, Sam whispered. So don't make This time was Sam who sneezed. Sam, Antonio said. Sorry. Clang! Sam looked behind them. Lucy's locker's door slammed shut. The school definitely knew where they were, and now they were trapped. No turning back. All of a sudden, the air vent began to shake. The metal bursted. It began to squeeze them tight. We have to get out of here, Sam said. The band squeezed tighter, closing around them. Sam pressed against Sam's shoulders. It pressed against his legs. Sam and Antonio crawled forward fast as they could. The air vent squeezed them harder. It's going to crush us! Antonio screamed. The vent Chapter 5 Lunch Time. The vent was tightening fast. Both boys struggled to move. When Sam placed his hand down, he almost trembled forward. There was nothing there, just air. The vent came to a sudden end. Well, anything's better than being crushed, Sam thought. Follow me, Sam said. And get ready for drop. Sam wiggled forward. Then he was falling. Ah! Sam screamed. He tumbled through the air. Splat! Sam splat into something gooey. Heads up! Antonio shouted. He was nose diving towards Sam. Pow! Antonio plopped into Sam. It was pitch black. Antonio turned on his phone again and shone the light around. They were lying on a humongous sticky gunk. It looks like a nasty goose saved us, Antonio said and wiped some from his face. But where are we? Even the light from the phone, they couldn't see far ahead. Sam squinted. They were in a large room. There were tall pillars round the sides of the room and piles of junk all over the floor. The air felt like dump. It smelled moldy. We must be in the basement, Sam said. Getting to his feet, he discovered in good. His sneakers made squeaky sounds even every step. Sam heard a different noise. The boys turned toward it. An old lunch cart was coming out of the darkness. Its wheels squealed. It waved slowly side to side. Goosebumps covered over Sam's skin. Antonio edged closer to Sam. Noah was pushing the lunch cart. It was moving on its own. The lid opened and closed. Clang, 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 clang. The lid snapped like a mouth, and it rolled toward them. And it was stopping. We are about to become school lunch, yelled Sam. Chapter 6 The Dark Basement. Sweat poured down from Sam's forehead. He had never been so scared in his life. The lunch cart rolled toward him and Antonio. Just then, as it about to hit them, the boys jumped out of the way. Slam! The cart crashed into the wall. It had shattered. Pieces of plastic showed Sam and Antonio. Antonio's jaws hung open. Sam? Maybe we should go back to get help, he said. Sam shook his head. He knew that school was trying to scare them to giving up, but he wasn't going to let that happen. Lucy was counting on them. Besides, he knew they must have fallen 20 feet from Ben, and they landed in that pile of good. He didn't know how they could get ever of this basement. Sam turned to his friend. Antonio, we are deep inside the school now. I bet even Mr. Nickleby is never made this far. This is our chance to learn the secret of Eerie Elementary. If we can figure out what keeps it alive, we can learn how to beat it, Sam said. But Sam, and we must rescue Lucy, Sam continued. Antonio swallowed. You're right. Sam and Antonio began tiptoeing across the basement. Antonio followed the light the hallway. As they walked, goo ran down of the halls. It dripped from the ceiling. Torn up jackets and shattered backpacks lay across the floor. Bent and twisted bicycles lay on the heaps. Everything looked like it had chewed up. It was like we're inside a body, and Sam thought that Eerie Elementary was a body. The basement must be its stomach. Sam looked around and said, "It looks like a school is just be eating backpacks and bicycles and stuff." Mr. Nickleby was really had done a good job of protecting students. "You have done great too," Antonio said. "If you hadn't saved up that a class play last Saturday, I'd be down here." "Come on, let's finish this," Sam said. The friends tiptoed along. Then Antonio grabbed Sam's arm. "Look," Antonio said, pointing. "What?" Sam asked. He followed Antonio's beam of light and toward the rusty metal desk. "It's him, Orson Eerie," Antonio said. Antonio was shining the light at the picture form on the desk. Inside there was an old black-white photo of man. "Gosh, Antonio," Sam said. "You scared me. I thought you meant Orson Eerie was here, like real back to life in person." Sam felt around on the wall. He had found the light switch. He flicked it on. 2 light bulbs flicked on. The light was dim, but Sam couldn't see this corner of the basement of sort of an office. There was chairs banging over the walls, papers on the desk, everything covered in thick layer of dust. The boys stepped closer to the desk. Sam picked up the picture frame. "You were right," Sam said. "Look at the glasses and the creepy mustache. This is Orson Eerie." "I don't think anyone had been here in a long, long time," Antonio said, picking up a newspaper. "This is from 1968. This is from 1938. This is older than my grandma. Then older than like my grandma's grandmother." "Whew," said Sam. "And what's this?" A large pipe of blue paper laid out on the desk. "It looks like a blueprint," Antonio said, "like a drawing of a building." "That makes sense. The big room is our gym, see?" Sam said, pointing to the blueprint. "It's like a map of Eerie Elementary." Suddenly a voice called out, "Help! Lucy!" Sam and Antonio said at once. Lucy's cries were coming from the beyond a large metal door. It looked at far end of the dark basement. A sign on the door, it read, "Heating and Cooling Room." "Let's go," Sam said. The boys quickly stuffed everything they could fit into their pockets: papers, a small book, and the blueprint. As soon as they did, everything in the basement came to life. Whoosh! A dodgeball flew at Sam. Sam grabbed Antonio by the wrist. "Come on," Sam shouted, dodging beneath the ball. "Let's go get Lucy." Sam dodged, chewed off frisbees, and rocked toward him. Antonio jumped over the roller skates and shot toward his legs like cannonballs. The school was loud. Sam thought it sounded like a stomach rumbling. The walls shook and floors shifted. Sam and Antonio stumbled to side to side. Backpacks opened wide and threw rulers, pencils, and books at them. The heating and cooling room door was just ahead. "Keep running," Sam yelled, but Antonio stopped in his tracks. Sam looked back. Something long that looked like a spear headed for Antonio. A white pole bat. Sam pulled Antonio behind a large pillar. Whoosh! The bat flew past. Okay, now I'm mad, Antonio said. Let's find Lucy and get out of this crazy basement. Sam peeked around the pillar. We need to reach that door. But who knows what's waiting for on the other side, asked Antonio. There's only one way to find out, Sam said. Crash! 100 of... Chapter 8, Lucy. Sam and Antonio charged toward the heating and cooling room. Sam ripped over the door open and quickly shut it behind them. Crash! 100 of chewed up things slammed into closed door. Sam caught his breath and looked around the room. One wall covered in maze of rusty old pipes. Pipes were all alive. They moved like an army of snakes. As they twisted, they scrambled together, making a screeching noise. Lucy! Sam yelled, pointing. His friend was suspended in midair, hanging upside down. One of the pipes were wrapped around her ankle. Guys, you found me! Please get down from here! Lucy shrieked. Lucy calling for help made the school angrier. The pipe around Lucy's ankle began flying her through the air. The pipe is throwing Lucy like a doll, said Antonio. Hang on, Lucy, Sam yelled. Sam and Antonio began climbing the giant wall pipes. Unlike the basement, this room is not covered in goo. The metal pipes was dry, and the boys was able to grab them. Sam could feel the water rushing through the pipes. These pipes must be a pump water throughout the school, thought Sam. Antonio leaped off from the pipe and grabbed another pipe and Lucy's ankle. Then he tugged, trying to pull her free. I'm coming, Sam said. The pipe is wrapped so tight, thought Antonio yelled as he tugged. Help! Lucy cried. Antonio pulled harder, but then clunk! The pipe jumped in his hand, throwing him to the ground. Ugh! Antonio said, getting to his feet. It is no use! Sam jumped down. There has to be a way to make that pipe let go of her, he thought. It looked like around the room. The school's water heater stood in the corner. Sam's dad was a plumber, so Sam knew all about this stuff. This water heater warmed the water. Then it pumped the warm water throughout the school. The wheel front of the controller is how fast the water move through the pipes. If we turn the wheel, can slow down the water. Maybe it will weaken the pipes and make them let go of Lucy, Sam thought. Sam grabbed the wheel. It was rusty and stiff. Finally, it started turning, but it wasn't helping. Lucy was rolling around faster. What are you doing, Sam? Yelled Antonio. Stop! You're making it worse, Lucy screamed. She was being whipped through the air as lightning speed. Faster and faster. Sam had to free his friend before it was too late. The school kept flying Lucy through the air. Back and forth, back and forth. Sam got an idea. I must be turning the wheel the wrong way. Hang on, he shouted. Sam spun the wheel in the opposite direction. The water began draining from its pipes. It was working. The pipes were losing their energy. They were becoming weaker. Then the pipe around Lucy's ankle loosened his grip, and it dropped her. Ah! Yelled Lucy, falling. At the last moment, Lucy gave a hold of a lower hanging pipe. Antonio helped her get down. You're okay, Antonio said. Lucy wiped some sweat from his forehead. So, she said, what took you guys so long? Sam and Antonio smiled. Their friends were safe. What is all that? Lucy said, pointing to the paper sticking out of Sam and Antonio's pocket. Oh, yeah, Sam said. We found a creepy office back there. It was full of lots of old junk. Maybe the blueprint will show how to get back upstairs, said Antonio. Good thinking, said Lucy. You'll find a way out of while I dig through this other stuff. Sam, Antonio, and Lucy took a seat on the floor and got to work. Look at this, Lucy said, holding up a red leather book. This is Orson Eerie's journal. It sounds like he's some of mad scientist. Whew, Antonio said. What else does his journey say? Sam asked. Lucy's eyes darted over the pages. After a minute, she showed the book and said, as Orson Eerie grew old, he cared about an idea and endless life. In his last journal entry was, he wrote, I've done it. I've found a way to live forever. Sam remembered something. Lucy, do you still have a library book? Lucy's eyes lit up. Yes, she said. She slipped her backpack off her shoulder and handed the book to Sam. Look, Sam said, flipping over the page where he had left this morning. It says, Orson Eerie was on someone who built buildings. Oh, man, he designed Orson Eerie Elementary. Wait a minute, Antonio said. A mad scientist designed our school? No wonder it's creepy crazy. Sam, Antonio, Lucy were silent. There was only sound from the water heater. It sounded like a beating heart beating. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. It was then Sam Grape understood the terrible truth about Orson Eerie and about Eerie Elementary. Chapter 10, Trapped. I get it now, Sam yelled, holding up the blueprint and the book. It makes sense. Orson Eerie designed this school so that he could alive forever. That's why he couldn't find a graveyard for him in the town graveyard. He's never that. He became the school. Wait, Antonio said. So you're saying Orson Eerie is Eerie Elementary, Sam said. He is the walls and the floor. He is the locker and the pipe. He is everything. That's why the school took you this morning, Lucy. It sensed that we found the library book. It knew we were close to finding out the truth. Lucy's face went white. The whole thing is terrifying, Sam agreed. They're almost too crazy to believe. But it did make sense. It explained everything. Clank! The lock on the heating and cooling room door slid into place, trapping them. Eerie Elementary started going crazy. The walls began to barb and the pipes began shaking and clanging again, and the floor cracked open. The friends stumbled back. What's happening? Lucy screamed. Now that we uncovered his secret, Sam yelled, the school will never let us out. Antonio jumped back. My feet is getting wet. The water bubbled up from the crack of the floor, rising up fast. We don't have much time, Sam yelled. The water was over his sneakers. Lucy yanked the door handle, but it wouldn't unlock. We are stuck, Sam called. The water rushed through floor fast. It already above their knees, and there was no way out. The three friends kicked as their feet stood above the water. Soon they touched the ceiling. The water would fill the entrance room. Clang, bang, along. The pipes were banging loudly. Sam could barely think. Wait, those pipes all go through the school, Sam said, pointing through a big pipe. It was broken. Guys, climb up that pipe. I got an idea. Are you crazy? Lucy yelled. Antonio shook his head. No way! I'm not climbing onto that old pipe. We don't know where it'll take us. And I don't want to get squeezed again. It's our only chance, Sam said. Antonio looked at Sam and groaned. Fine. He swam over to the large pipe. It was the size of a gigantic water slide. He climbed in. Sam helped Lucy into the big pipe too. The dark water still rising. Sam needed to hurry. I'll be back. Where are you going? Lucy shouted. Trust me, Sam said. Sam took a deep breath and dove down. For once, he was actually thankful for all those swimming classes his mom made for him to take. Sam opened his eyes and reached the water heater wheel on the right to the lesson. The water strength saved Lucy. So it will be turned left. It will make the water move faster through the pipes. It will make the water stronger. It can push through out of the pipe. The water can carry us to the other side of the pipe, hopefully above ground. Thought Sam. It was a crazy idea, but it was their only chance. Sam grabbed both the wheel and began turning. Sam had trouble turning the giant wheel of water. It was running out there. Its plan didn't work. My plans and I are in serious trouble, he thought. Sam pictured Lucy and Antonio and Mr. Nickleby. He pictured Miss Gringo and all of his classmates. Eerie Elementary put them all in danger, and only he could save them. He was the hall monitor. He could feel the school, and he sensed now that he could beat the school. If only he could turn the wheel. He could not fail. He would not fail. Sam used all strength to give the wheel another tug. Screech! It worked. The wheel was turning. Then Sam saw the dial of the water heater above the water speed. As he turned the wheel, a small little dial moved from the green to red. The more danger was in the red station. Sam pressed against the water heater and turned the wheel until the dial needle was past the word danger. The water heater began shaking. It's going to blow, Sam thought. I got to get out of here. Sam turned and kicked with all of his might. He breathed through the surface and gasped for breath. Antonio and Lucy was inside the pipe waiting for me. Water rushed faster through the pipes. All around Sam, the water boiling and splashing. The water heater shook. Sam, what did you do? Antonio yelled. I'm getting us out of here. We'll travel through the pipes, Sam said. I hope this works, Lucy said, streaking out a hand. Sam grabbed a hold and Lucy pulled him up. He lay down beside Antonio and Lucy inside the big pipe. It was like three of them were lying on the top of the water slide. It was going to be fun zip down to swim. Well, now they were going to be walking up through the Eerie Elementary. Will this pipe split us out? Lucy asked. Sam didn't answer. He had no idea where this pipe would take them. They just hoped it was somewhere above ground. The pipe started really shaking. The water heater would blow any moment and water would blast through the pipe. Hold our breath, Sam said. Here we go. Boom! The water heater blew. The gigantic blobs of water. Sam, Antonio, and Lucy were launched through the pipe. Bazoom! The three friends waved through the pipe. A million Howard on the wave of the water. Up ahead, the pipe split in two. Lucy shouted, "Sam!" The pipe split. Lucy was carried off in one direction. Sam and Antonio was another. Sam held his breath and zoomed through the pipe. Up ahead, the pipe split in two again. The water carried Antonio to the right. Sam tried to swallow it, but it was too late. Sam saw darkness at the end of the pipe. Oh no, it was a dead end. He had swallowed down, or he would be smashed into the end of the pipe. He reached out and grabbed his fingers against the pipe. It was no use. He couldn't stop. He wouldn't slow time. He needed to do something, or he'd be smashed. Sam thought. He lay flat on the board. He pushed himself forward against the water and rocked him toward the end of the pipe. Maybe Snickers and this fake speed and just have to help me break through this old rusty pipe. Sam's feet slammed into the end of the pipe. It cracked open. Sam was shot into the air. "Oh no!" Sam screamed. It was high above the lunch room. He was in midair, 30 feet up, and then failing. Sam reached for something, anything, in a huge curtain covered with rooms, floors, sliding windows. Sam looked up the pipe above him. Gallons of water poured out of the pipe, splashing into the floor below. And then the floor began slow. The water heater must have run out of water. The danger was over. "I did it," Sam thought. Then leaned over the curtain. He looked down. The lunchroom was empty. "Phew! I'll just climb down this curtain, and I'll be fine. I'll find Antonio and Lucy." But no, Eerie Elementary was not done with Sam's grave. The water on the lunchroom floor began rising. It was taking shape. It was becoming something. Sam gasped. The water was taking the form of a gigantic hand. "Help!" Sam shouted. He tried to climb higher up the curtain, but the curtain began swelling. It was trying to shake him up. The curtain had become to life. Rip! The curtain started to tear. Sam looked down at the huge watery hand of Eerie Elementary. It was open wide. It was reaching for Sam. Sam hung thoroughly from the monstrous curtain. He was about to grab by the enormous hand. But wait, Sam remembered something. That morning, Miss Winkler said, "That day will be the hottest ever." Sam tightened his grip on the curtain and then tugged the curtain toward. The entrance curtain fell to ground along with Sam. Sunlight poured through the window. Hot rays of sunlight were shining directly on the watery hand. The hand pulled back through the wall in pain. Stream of rising of it. The sun's heat was turning the water onto steam. The school howled. But still, the hand reached for Sam. It was hurt, weakened, but not beaten. "If I could just bring down the other curtain is here, so sunlight was destroyed the hand," thought Sam, "but I'm cornered." One of the fingers were about to grab Sam. Slam! Lucy and Antonio burst into the lunchroom. "We are coming, Sam!" they yelled. "Pull over those curtains!" Sam shouted. "Quick!" Antonio and Lucy didn't know what Sam's plan was, but they trusted them. Antonio tugged on the curtain. Lucy grabbed another. Soon, even more sunlight flooded the room. The watery hand was almost beaten. Sam would just need a deliver from the final blow. He spotted a metal cooking tray on the floor. Metal reflects light. That Sam stepped on the edge of the tray, popping up on the air like a skateboard. He snatched it and held it up to the sunlight. A white hot beam of light bounced off the metal toward the hand. Hiss! The hand of Eerie Elementary screamed. It shook a steam cloud in the air, and then boom splash! The watery hand blew apart. Giant drops of water splashed across the room. The hand was gone. It was done. Sam got to his feet. Then he said, "You guys here just in time. Where were you?" "The pipe split me out in the gym," Lucy said, "and I got split into the 15th hallway," Antonio said. "Luckily, no one saw us." Sam was so tired he could barely stand. "Man, I owe you guys big time," said Sam. "Are you kidding? You two saved me today," Lucy said. "It was all Sam," said Antonio. He began clapping. "Sam Graves, Hall Monitor hero, give him a hand." Sam groaned. "I never want to hear that word again." Sam, the friends smiled. They were safe, but not for long. Chapter 15. All wet. Slam! The door flew open. Miss Grinker burst into the lunchroom. She looked around, eyes wide. Her frizzy hair was standing on end. "Sam, Antonio, Lucy, where have you been?" she yelled. "What happened to the curtains? Why is everything wet?" Just then Mr. Nickleby rushed in. He began calmly mopping the water. Then he said, "Miss Grinker, Sam was helping me wash the windows. Didn't I tell you?" Miss Grinker still was upset. "No, you didn't tell me." Sam shoved at me could leave the class. He missed our entire water lesson. "I'm becoming forgetful in my old age," Mr. Nickleby said. Sam smiled and looked at the floor. Mr. Nickleby to the rescue. "What about Antonio and Lucy?" Miss Grinker said. "They are not hall monitors, so they shouldn't be having you." "I'm making assistant hall monitors. They are probably very helpful to Sam." Antonio and Lucy looked each other with a big excuse smiles. Miss Grinker was so mad she turned her heels and stomped out of the lunchroom. As soon as Miss Grinker and other students left, Sam told Mr. Nickleby everything. "You'd learn a lot of school," Mr. Nickleby said. "And you seriously hurt the school this time. Hopefully the evil will stay asleep for a while. And hopefully assistant hall monitors don't have to wear those ugly things," Lucy said. She tugged on Sam's bright orange eyes. "Hey!" Sam said. Soon all 5 of them were laughing. After school that day, Sam, Lucy, and Antonio sat on their swings. "We did it well today," Sam said, "but I don't think we'll ever be able to really defeat Eerie Elementary." Lucy hopped down off her swing. "I don't think that's true," she said. Antonio nodded. "We're a team. And now we knew Orson Eerie's the school. There must be a way we can undo whatever he did." Sam stared at the school building. Eerie Elementary. The strange character that was mad scientist Orson Eerie. "You guys are right," he said. "There must be a way to beat Eerie? Elementary. Once and for all. And together we'll find it.